Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me. In my new series in the year 2020, the year 2020 Rick Miracle Report, and this is number 23. So I was reading this magazine. We are moving into the neck of the funnel. April 6th, 1993. We are moving into the neck of the funnel. So just imagine humanity. All of humanity being dumped in a funnel, and we're moving into the neck. It's all being squished, and we're about to be popped through the funnel. Just like if they have a riot in a movie theater when someone screams fire, how many people get killed and stomped on trying to get out the door? So I was reading this magazine up to page about 27, and I came across this one interesting article called A Writer's View of Understanding the Mystery of Free Will. John Gould. A writer's view of understanding the mystery of free will. So if you think about it, we all have free will, or so we think, because usually we act and react to what we believe, what we perceive, what we see, what we hear, what we were taught. We're all programmed. So if we're all programmed, then how can we have free will? We can't have free will. I mean, think about the billion Chinese people who have been living in communism after the revolution many years ago, where millions were killed. Communism. And now they got that coronavirus, and they're quarantining the whole country, 1 billion people, restrictions, and apparently a lot of chaos and people upset. So are they operating under free will? They're following their emotions. And apparently the people who control our world know how to trigger our emotions, know how to do something which makes us angry, like 911. And then they're able to go ahead and attack all the countries in the Middle East and topple the governments and steal all the resources, because we were programmed. 911, they blamed it on these people, and everybody said, yeah. Not knowing they were being deceived by the deceivers who had a plan that was created a long time ago, 300 years ago. The creation of the State of Israel under a program called Zionism, rebuilding King Solomon's temple, apparently fulfilling biblical prophecy of God's chosen people. But wait a minute, 80 or 90% of the people that are calling themselves Jews or Israelis are not Hebrews. They're from Khazar up by Russia and Germany and Norway, Vikings. Barbaric people, next door neighbors to Mongolia, with Genghis Khan, who raided the Middle East and parts of Europe. Very vicious situation back then. But the people were so barbarian, so vicious, so nasty, that the king said we have to adopt a religion. And he examined the Islamic religion. He examined the Christian religion. But when he found out that the Hebrew religion, or the Jews, they didn't have the word Jew back then. The word Jew was created 300 years ago. And the letter J was the last letter added to the alphabet 500 years ago. And Khazaria converted to Judaism 1,200 years ago. There was no J, so they couldn't do it. So when you say Jew now, you're talking about these Khazarians, Khazars. They call themselves Akhenazis, Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, like Hitler's Nazis. And the original Jews, the Hebrews, were shepherds, and they're called Shepherdetic Jews. The Shepherdetic Jews in Israel today are treated like second and third class citizens. Some of them don't even have a right to rent an apartment or a right to a job. But the Ashkenazi, the Vikings, the Nordics, from the Russian, Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, Poland, German area. Back then, it wasn't; those countries weren't named that. It was a huge area the size of the United States, called Khazars. So, knowing all this, when you talk about free will, how can you have free will when you are programmed to believe that the other people are evil and caused the Twin Towers to collapse? Even Building 7, which wasn't hit by a plane, it just collapsed upon the order of the owner telling the fire chief to pull it. So clearly demolitions were installed, and there's much evidence to suggest that it was an inside job so that they could overthrow all the countries in the Middle East to fulfill prophecy for the God's chosen people to return to their homeland. But wait a minute, that would have been Hebrews. That wouldn't have been the 80 or 90% Ashkenazi Nordics, Khazars, who adopted the religion 1,200 years ago. But again, free will. We all make decisions on what we believe. We support things because we believe things. So if you're making decisions and you say, well, that's my decision, that's my free will, it can't be your decision with free will because you were deceived. You made a decision based on deception. Just like with the dumping of chemicals in the sky and weather control and putting poisons and toxins into the air. Monsanto, herbicides, pesticides, poisoning people, causing cancer, genetically modified foods that your body and the cells in your body do not recognize. It rejects that genetically modified foods and causing cancer and tumors. And then, of course, blaming the Arabs on 9/11, fake terrorism. We all make decisions based on what we believe, but what we believe is lies. We've been deceived. And the same thing with global warming, global cooling, climate change, sustainability. It's a huge planet. There's plenty of resources. If we were being intelligently managed our own affairs, the planet would be just fine. But obviously we all know that the elites are reaping in the billions and billions, and the divide between the have and the have-nots is expanding every day. So it's perception that is driving our decisions. It's not free will. So let me read from this article, and you decide. Men have lost their original wholeness of being, and most of all, their true reality. So men have lost their true reality. We are deceived so much. The other half is nothing more than a light beingness of which we speak. Once the truth is seen, one may then not necessarily break away from society, science, established religion, or the state of affairs of the world, but learn to live and cope with it, but not react. So if once you realize what the truth is, you don't have to react, and you actually have free will. You can see the things in the paper about President Donald Trump having the Iranian general executed. And then you can pay attention to what the pundits on the YouTube videos and the newspapers and everything else, magazines, are saying, and find out that the general really didn't have anything to do with an attack on a U.S. base. It was ISIS But think about it, when it first happened and you believed what they told you in the news, you might have got angry. But later on, when you found out he didn't do it, did you get angry at that? When you learn what the truth is and that we are being deceived, like it says in this article, we can learn to live and cope with it, but not react. So pretty much 99% of what we are being fed is deception. The elite are pursuing a global world order, and they need to demonize we the people, like that guy going on a rampage in Germany and shooting people up, shouting racist rants that he hates Africans or hates Arabs and hates Jews. I mean, think about it. 6 billion people on the planet. How many people would do that? And would anybody actually really do it? It's not logical. But what if they were programmed? And the government is seriously into something called audiograms and hypnotism and mind control, where they can send a pulse transmission to your head, and you hear things which you think are your own thoughts. And the computers and the monitoring of everybody, they know who's stable and who's unstable, who's healthy and who's mentally ill. So they can cause this person to actually go out and do those things and believe that he's probably saving the world because of all these evil people that he's been programmed to believe are evil. And I really don't believe that people like in the United States, we don't believe all the Mexicans are evil and we need a big wall. We don't believe that all of the countries in the Middle East should be being destroyed just because some people might have done 9/11. And the same thing with the elite who control our country, sending all of the manufacturing to China 30, 40 years ago, giving China the bulk of the world's wealth and taking those jobs away from the United States. And now the Chinese are buying up real estate in America, cash for it, especially on the coast. And the prices are rising because all these wealthy Chinese have all this money and they can just buy the houses for cash, and it creates a competitive edge and the prices go up and people want to have all the coastal properties. But most people don't know that. So when they make decisions and they see the government saying that we might have an economic recession, they don't know that all the jobs were intentionally transferred out of the United States, and that the people are controlling the mechanisms that do this. So unless we wake up, we can't have free will. It would appear that we have a paradox, but let us examine the matter. If empirical knowledge of the world is the highest light, why is it that men's bodies die? So if the scientific intelligence today is the highest knowledge, why are things getting worse? We enjoy our lives and the world in which we live. The fruit is sweet, yet we live, we age, we fall ill, and we die. And this is the end of our worldly life. The partial self, the split person, living in the world, it does not come to an end. It is a life of struggle with little genuine happiness, yet there are joys. Well, think about it. You know, the divorce rate is off the chart. People get married, they break up, they get stressed out, they financial difficulties. The children are on opioids, doing drugs. Parents and other people are on drugs and alcohol, medications, because we're eating and drinking toxic foods and toxic beverages. It's insane. So we're winding up being not healthy, not strong, socially torn apart. You know, people spend less time with each other in groups. So can you say that we have free will, or we're making decisions where we discuss things? It seems that the powers that be are inhibiting that in our societies all over the world in their pursuit of a global world order. Not only that, but they're setting the stage for a, I should say, computerized technological control of the world, where they monitor everybody and they can zap anybody with microwaves anytime they want, or probably where everybody will be ordering foods through the services they offer these days. Instead of going to the supermarket, somebody can tamper with your delivery and poison you because they know what you ordered. They know it's on its way. They have the control, the electromagnetics, the laser beams, and so much more. These different frequencies and medications and that can cause an economic destruction to any town, any city, any state, any country, thus making people get in a stressful situation where they're obviously not making decisions with free will. But compared to the spiritual joys, they are temporary and are taken away through sorrows, if only by separation at time of death. It is by use of tools in living, the rules given to us by God through our space brothers, that we are able to understand our other half, that half that exists in its permanent, and is permanent and never dies. So apparently these contact magazines and Phoenix Liberators and the Phoenix Journals, a lot of this information in these magazines and newspapers apparently is channeled information from some people from the Pleiades, our space brothers. And I'm not asking anybody to believe that, but the other portion of this conversation is probably important and is applicable to everybody. But it says that the space brothers are trying to transmit the information to our planet, and even throughout history there have been prophets, holy men, who were given divine information to try to help and teach mankind. So it just seems that's just part of the norm for information to be transmitted to we humans from a spiritual world. Regrettably, it appears that in the spiritual world, if you know the Bible, that a third of the angels were cast out of heaven, this other world, and apparently they're held captive on this planet Earth, maybe in the earth, under the earth, and even they can reincarnate into human beings, and they have their secret societies and satanic Luciferic cults. So they seem to be the ones in control of the planet. And apparently, according to this documentation, the Palladian Space Brothers are trying to warn us and teach us and remind us that only half of ourselves are here. Me, sitting here, is half of me. My higher self is still in the spiritual realm, and apparently there's a silver cord at the top of our heads, and we can draw on that energy and communicate with the spiritual world. We don't have to fall for the deception that they're putting upon us. We do not have to react. We can know better. All right, back to this article. The divine knowledge extended to us, the divine knowledge extended to us, makes it possible to join the two halves into a united whole. So they have tried to eliminate our knowledge of our spiritual self, including putting fluoride in the water, which calcifies your pineal gland in the middle of your forehead, between the two lobes of your brain. And the pineal gland, it looks like a little pine cone, apparently filled with water and little crystals, which work as a transmitter receiver, so that people in the past could actually communicate with this spiritual self, just like the shamas, the tribal doctors all over the world for the indigenous tribes like the Mayans or the Hopis, the Aborigines and native tribes all over the world. They take different kinds of drugs like peyote and ayahuasca in Peru, and they're able to communicate with this other world. So obviously it's a real thing. I've made book reviews on these topics. So our other half, our ability to see into this other world, like this picture behind me, apparently people who see into this other world paint pictures like this of what they see. There's plenty of evidence that I've showed it in previous videos. So you want to reconnect with your spiritual self. You want to know that you're being deceived. And once you can get a grip on all of this, then you can start making free will decisions and not react. Remember, the satanic adversary forces want you to be angry and hateful, to join the dark side. You cannot allow anger and hate to enter your reality. Doesn't mean you have to like what they're doing. Knowing what they're doing is the key. The object for each of us is to unite the two natures. This is done through the Christ force, which brings about the emergence or conception of our true self from an impersonal state. Thus we gain true identity. Our parents could not have generated us into the physical world unless there was a part of us which exists in the mind of God, for all things begin there. So all things begin in the mind of God in the spiritual world. And apparently, according to what I've been reading here, reincarnation is absolutely real, but the early church fathers that kind of created Christianity out of Christ's teachings made decisions to exclude the knowledge of reincarnation, that we are spiritual beings. And apparently there's something called soul growth, and we're supposed to be here for a purpose. They didn't want people to know that. And if you were evil, of course, your reincarnated future would be kind of bleak. And they didn't want that kind of knowledge out there either. It is relatively easy to apply the clearing tape technique. So apparently in 1993, Contact Magazine, the Phoenix Journals, they were sending out clearing tapes. I guess some kind of information that people could study and learn how to connect higher through meditation with the higher reality. What is not easy to learn is the laws of life. That is, learn divine knowledge by bringing forth the kingdom within. So we have if we look within ourselves, if we meditate on the light, apparently we can communicate with the God world. Our space brothers are here, as the Gnostics would say, to call people home. They come into the world to awaken us from our sleep. Now remember, there is no doubt, no question at all, whether it's the Islamic religion with Muhammad speaking to the Archangel Michael or Gabriel, or Jesus talking about in his Father's world there are many kingdoms, or all the other holy people in the world, the prophets, communicating with other worldly beings, and the indigenous tribes, the witch doctors and the tribal doctors, taking different kinds of drugs or going into different kinds of trances, coming back to this reality with cures. The other world does exist. So these people who are coming here now trying to warn us, and again, I'm not asking everybody to believe everything this says, but the conversation about using our free will and waking up is very important. But it says here, these people who are here communicating through certain people are not coming here to be worshipped or adored. They do not need to be worshipped or adored. This is the last thing that they want. And if you tried to adore these entities, they would instantly disappear, because to adore them meant you would have to adore yourself. And to adore yourself is idolatry. So the key thing here I learned was we need to adore God. If we put ourselves above God, or gold above God, or loving women or men above God, or a big mansion or a house above God, or boats, or anything material on this planet, if we elevate it above God, it's idolatry. And of course that's one of the commandments, thou shalt not do adultery. As the old patterns are broken and God touches us, we must all constantly use our new and growing abilities to analyze and discern whether we are being influenced by Anton, and apparently Anton is the name of God, so according to these Palladian teachers, or by the adversary, the satanic Luciferic forces. We have to pay attention. And again, this requires continual application of what we have and will be given, continual progress, continual advancement, which eventually leads to working directly with Space Command and teaching. So if people seek the light, if they seek God, in my opinion, they're more likely to find it. They wake up, they don't react to all the evil things that the elite are doing to bring about a global world order, including the killing and causing suffering and economic destruction of people all over the planet. Even the coronavirus, a lot of people are indicating, was created in a lab, and it's part of the program to move forward with the global world order. Eventually, probably, they could, next week, tomorrow, issue a worldwide alert and demand that everybody take a vaccine, and that we all are in their computers. They know who we are, and everybody has been given a tag. Red, you're dead. Orange, you go to a retrainment camp or a work farm. And green, they think you're already into the satanic Luciferic demon forces, and you'll be okay. You're going to go along with the insane world. So if they require everybody to take a vaccine, if they declare a worldwide health alert, then the people who are red dot labeled, they could feed them a poisonous vaccine and kill them. That's my point. And of course, they have all kinds of other tools to take people out these days, the drones, the microwave transmitters, and they can cancel people's credit cards and everything else. It's a horrible situation we're in. But again, if you're aware that you're a spiritual being and that they're doing this, you don't have to react, and you can be at much more peace with yourself, like watching a movie on TV. That's what the world will be like. You do not have to participate, and you do not have to worry about it, because you can have free will and know that no matter what happens to you, you're out of here, and they're going to be stuck here. The work then becomes easier, for light and truth are collected together in individuals who, though they may live in various locations, are made part of a greater cosmic community and are focused in unity and purpose and being. So apparently the world operates in cycles, and we're nearing the end of a cycle. And this is all aligning with biblical prophecies and other religious teachings all over the world. Back to this article. How can we tell which power is influencing us? How can we tell which power is influencing us? It is easy to tell. If one becomes angry easily, resentful, frustrated, displeased, hateful, and all the other ills of weakened spirit, this tells us that God in us, consciousness, is inactive. So if you have all those things happening to you, God in consciousness, in yourself, is inactive. And we are under the influence of the adversary, the one who is giving us all the fake news and all the horrible things happening in the world, making us frustrated, resentful, angry, displeased, even hateful. We have fallen to the dark side. Because of this unfortunate situation, energy is lost to us. This is why the disciplines of Christ, St. Andrew, St. Germain, St. Francis, and others, and there's been many of these saints and prophets and people throughout history who have been working for the God world, who have been trying to teach us and warn us. No shortage of that. With uppermost in their minds at all times. So when people believe and understand the spiritual consciousness and the God world, and love God and love God's creation and love your fellow man, and do not allow hate and anger to enter your body, and knowing that the world can't really do you any harm, look at it with amusement and love, then it gives people, according to this article, superhuman control over themselves. So I think this was worth reading. When I read it earlier today, as you can see, How many times have you said to yourself, and I haven't done this, I grew up Catholic, and I've always been a blind faith believer. I never disputed what they taught me as a kid. I believed the Bible was real, and there are good people and evil people. So I was one of those people that never doubted the existence of God and that I was a spiritual being with a soul. Regrettably, a lot of people don't have that experience because they've been programmed since childhood. I'm 65 years old, and I'm just glad I'm not going to the school system these days, because I know the intensity of the mind control. Even the cartoons and everything else. It's insane. The movies. And I watched some of the newly released movies, The Man in the High Castle and some other ones, and the downright viciousness and murder and swords plunging right through people, or bullet holes with those zooming in on the impact and blowing out the brains. It affects our beliefs and our actions and our thinking. We certainly don't have free will because we don't know what reality really is. So how many people have said Christ wasn't human? I don't know how he did what he did. I wouldn't let them put me on a cross. I would have raised an army and fought them or whatever. Christ did not allow that to happen because he was preserved in the light. He was in contact with his higher self. He was immortal. He was divine. He abided with God. So if you're connected and loving God and understanding what they're doing, you get superhuman control over yourself. No matter what they do to you when you are connected, you know it's just a physical existence. You're going to die on this planet anyways. But where you really need to concern yourself, I feel, from me reading this materials, is we need to get away from these evil influences, recognize them, and intentionally want to communicate with our higher self. Talk to God by yourself and truly try to work at it, and read things like this Contact magazine and other stuff to educate yourself. Oh, we're moving into the neck of the funnel. And so many others of these books I've been going over. Bush sells us out to the Soviets back in 1991, when apparently the Soviet Union collapsed, another huge deception, and unlimited amounts of money and grains and supplies was shipped to Russia to now make it another successful nuclear empire, which apparently, according to biblical prophecy, might be in cahoots with China and Mongolia and that whole area to destroy the United States. And apparently the elite who control the United States did all of that intentionally, bringing us issues like this. And these articles you can read that I have read, it's just an astonishing amount of information. And apparently we have to wake up and get back to our spiritual roots and selves and divine self. So my half hour is up. Thank you for watching my video. Think about it. Rick Miracle reporting.